pyramid inside another pyramid was found in Mexico. Archaeologists also found Maya pyramids older than the Olmec ones, flipping the whole origin story of the Maya upside down, and north of Mexico City, a massive pyramid base turned up under a highway. These are more discoveries made inside the pyramids that could change history. So apparently the pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza in Mexico is basically the Mayan version of a Russian nesting doll. So archaeologists already knew there was one smaller pyramid inside the main one. That was found back in the 30s. But in 2016, a research team led by René Chavez at the National Autonomous University of Mexico used this cool scanning method called electrical resuscitivity tomography, basically a way to see through stone without having to dig anything up. And they found another, even smaller pyramid inside of that. So that makes 3 pyramids stacked inside each other. This inner pyramid might date all the way back to 600 to 800, which makes it the oldest one in the stack. Denise Argote from Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History said it's, quote, more purely Mayan, meaning it wasn't influenced by other cultures like the outer one was. René Chavez also said the 3rd pyramid was a, quote, hypothesis in some archaeologists' minds, until now. Everyone talks about how the Maya collapsed, but no one really talks about how they got started. That's where this place called Ceibal in Guatemala comes in. Archaeologist Takeshi Inomata from the University of Arizona led a dig there and found something surprising. He found a small pyramid and some big platform structures that are way older than anyone expected the Maya to be building stuff like that. The long platform they found is about 180 feet long and dates back to 1000 BCE. The smaller pyramid is from around 850 BCE. That's older than the famous Olmec pyramids at La Venta in Mexico. And that's kind of nuts, because everyone thought the Olmec taught the Maya how to build stuff like this. Turns out, it may not be the case. Inomata said that at the time these were built, quote, La Venta could not have been a large influential center, end quote. So basically, the Maya probably didn't learn how to make pyramids directly from the Olmec. Last year, while crews were working on a highway just north of Mexico City, they discovered a 1,375-year-old pyramid base. So not the full pyramid, unfortunately, just the foundation it was built on. Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History, or INAH, says these bases were the starting points for pyramids, usually with steps and stairs. In Mesoamerica, civilizations like the Maya, Aztecs, and Teotihuacan built these pyramids mostly for religious and ceremonial reasons. Experts think this base might be part of a kingdom called Metztitlan, which managed to stay independent from the Aztecs. The site has 5 sections and about 10 piles of ancient ruins, with artifacts dating from around 650 to 950. All the way up to the Aztec period between 1350 and 1519. Hector Labra Chavez, the tourism director for the nearby town, said before this, there were no known remnants of pre-Hispanic civilizations in this immediate area. So this find is a pretty big deal. Unfortunately though, they're gonna have to rebury the base after making 3D models because the president cut INAH's budget by 45%, so that means less money for digging and studying. In Campeche, Mexico, archaeologists were scanning the jungle with LiDAR. What they found is kind of wild. Buried under thick forest in a mostly unexplored area, they found the remains of a bunch of ancient Maya sites. One of them had a massive pyramid over 16 meters, or about 52 feet tall. There were also offerings like ceramic pots, a spearhead, and part of an animal leg, which were left on top of the pyramid. But the more unexpected part came when they looked under a nearby ball court. Turns out there is a structure underneath it that had been hidden for centuries. The ball court sits on top of this buried structure, which is rare and might date all the way back to 200 CE. Sprey had said the whole site probably stayed active long after most major Maya cities had collapsed, with small groups still coming back to leave offerings at the pyramid and keep old traditions alive. So this one sounds like something out of an Indiana Jones movie, but this actually happened last year, deep in the jungle of Guatemala. So archaeologists led by Francisco Estrada Belli discovered a Mayan tomb buried under a pyramid in a forgotten city called Chochquita. It dates back to 350 CE, and according to Estrada Belli, finding it was, quote, akin to winning the lottery. So inside they found all kinds of ancient artifacts. There was pottery, a jade mask, plus carved human bones, femurs specifically, with Mayan writing on them. They also found shells which were used by Mayan elites both as jewelry and money. The mask is about 1700 years old, and the bones might help identify who this person actually was. Some of the writing even links a previously unknown king of this place to other major Maya cities like Tikal. Estrada Belli said, quote, "Tombs were accompanied by sumptuous offerings for the afterlife. In this case, the pottery would have contained food and drink, while the carved bones and jade mask were personal objects with special sacred meaning," end quote. The tomb was almost looted years ago. When the team scanned the area with LiDAR, they found tunnels dug by looters who'd stopped just a few feet short of the chamber. DNA tests on the bones are now underway, and all the finds will eventually go on display at Guatemala's National Museum. In 2024, archaeologists finally found the tomb of the first known king of the ancient Maya city of Caracol, Tikab Chak, which means tree branch rain god. He took the throne in 331 CE and ruled what would go on to be one of the most powerful Maya cities. His tomb was dated to around 350 CE, and it was discovered in what's called the Northeast Acropolis, a pyramid that sat just outside the city where the royals lived and held ceremonies. This is the first royal tomb ever found at Caracol, and that's a big deal considering Diane and Arlen Chase from the University of Houston have been digging there for more than 40 years. Inside the tomb though, they found some jade beads, carved bones, seashells, and a death mask made of jade. Tikab Chak's remains show he was about 5'7" and had lost all his teeth by the time he died. According to Arlen Chase, quote, "Both central Mexico and the Maya area were clearly aware of each other's ritual practices, even though Teotihuacan was over 700 miles away." Back in late 2003, archaeologists Sergio Gomez Chavez and Julie Gazzola stumbled on something under the temple of the Feathered Serpent in Teotihuacan. So after a big rainstorm, a sinkhole opened up near the base of the pyramid. Sergio got lowered down by a rope to check it out and found a perfectly round shaft leading to an ancient tunnel sealed off by huge stones. In 2009, he finally got the go-ahead to excavate. They installed stairs, ladders, even an elevator, and removed about 1,000 tons of dirt by hand. I couldn't believe that when I read it. It's actually not that unusual in archaeology to dig stuff out with shovels and buckets when working in these tight, delicate spaces. The tunnel under the temple of the Feathered Serpent is narrow, it's got a low ceiling, and it's full of fragile artifacts, so they couldn't just roll in machinery without risking damage. Inside though, they found all kinds of stuff: giant spiral seashells, jaguar bones, carved wooden masks covered in jade and quartz, necklaces, crocodile teeth, and over 400 shiny spheres made of clay and coated in pyrite, which is often referred to as fool's gold. At the end of the tunnel, they found a ritual chamber meant to represent the underworld. It had a mini mountain landscape with tiny pools of liquid mercury standing in for lakes. There was a rubber ball, which was probably meant to symbolize the sun, and there were 4 statues with crystal eyes placed there, 2 of them still in their original positions, leaning back and staring upward. Alright, this weird little object might not look like much at first glance, but it's actually one of the strangest things ever found in ancient Egypt. It's called the Sabu Disk, and it was discovered in 1936 by archaeologist Walter Brian Emery inside a tomb at Saqqara. The tomb belonged to a guy named Sabu, an official who lived around 3000 to 2800 BCE. The thing is carved from a type of tough stone called schist, which already makes it impressive because this stuff is hard to shape even with modern tools. Oddly though, doesn't this thing kinda look like a broken piece of a machine, almost like a fan blade? Nobody really knows what this thing was for though. Some archaeologists think it might have been purely decorative or ceremonial since it was, buried in a tomb, but others think it could have been part of some sort of machine. As for what that thing would have been though, we have no idea. So in Egypt's Dendera temple, there's this one relief carved into a wall that's been driving people nuts for years. So it shows a snake coming out of a lotus flower. The whole thing is being held up by an Egyptian squatting on a pillar, but if you're looking at it with modern eyes, which all of us are, we all have modern eyes, well, it really does look like a giant light bulb, doesn't it? It looks almost exactly like a Crookes tube, which was an early version of the light bulb invented in the 1800s. There's more though. That specific room in the temple, the one with this carving, has no burn marks, no soot, no lamp residue. But everywhere else in the temple, archaeologists have found evidence that fire was used to light things up, stuff like soot deposits on the ceiling. So the question is, how did they light this room if they weren't using regular fire lamps? And why would they carve something so detailed in a room that's pitch black? How could they have done that? Especially carving something that just happens to look like a light bulb. Did they have another way of lighting up this room? Who knows? Alright, you're not gonna believe this one. In 2015, a regular dude in Egypt named Dagi lived in a village called Harania, which is super close to the Giza Plateau where the Great Pyramid of Khufu is. So this guy, he's just digging in his own backyard, no permits, when 33 feet down, boom, he hits a tunnel. It was made of ancient stone blocks, and where did it lead? Well, only to the Great Pyramid of Khufu, of course. This is absolutely insane, because archaeologists have been looking for hidden passages like this for decades. Some even thought they didn't exist. But this exact passage was written about by the ancient Greek historian Herodotus. He said that when he visited Egypt back in the 5th century BCE, he was led through a tunnel to see the pyramid. Most people thought that was just a story until this local guy finds it under his freaking house. Amazing. With all that said, I've been your host James. I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.